Rough start to the season for kicker Tyler Bass, but he comes through in the clutch as the Bills pull off the sweep of the Dolphins. 30-27 the final from Highmark Stadium. Hey there, everyone. Kevin Carroll with you as usual, along with former Bills wide receiver Stevie Johnson, as we dive into this one, Stevie, that came down to the foot of someone that had a lot of question marks surrounding him going into not just this game, but into this kick.
Yeah. It was a lot of question marks around him, but there was no question marks inside that locker room about Tyler Bass, and he showed why there are no questions. I like what Coach McDermott did by bringing in a field goal kicker mid-season. It shows that he's got the support in him, but he still wants to see the fire. And that's just a part of it. I can remember back when I was playing, and it was kind of a QB funk going on. And I said, hey, maybe we should bring in a quarterback to compete with Fitzpatrick. And a lot of people took it the wrong way. They thought, I wasn't really supporting Fitz, but it wasn't that. You got to understand day in and day out. If you get comfortable, bringing another person in to compete kind of lights a fire under you. And I think that's what happened with Tyler Bass, showing off a 61-yard field goal, game-winning field goal at that.
61-yard field goal, Stevie, that I was asked in the newsroom right before that, should they bring Bass out on third down to try and kick it there? And I said, why would you do that with the day that Bass has been having? Too much of a crapshoot. Save it for fourth down and just hope that it goes in. Any question in your mind that the Bills should kick the field goal there? I heard some talk about maybe go with a Hail Mary and then try your luck in overtime.
I actually like what Coach Brady did. He went for it and had a play that it almost was a big pickup. The play just came up short. And that's why I was wondering, is something going on with Josh? Too many passes coming up short for a guy with a strong arm. So, I was on board with what Coach was doing, ran another play, and see what you can get out of it. And that also showed, again, that's so much confidence to say, I'm going to run more plays, leave it where we are, and put Tyler Bass in. And they had the confidence to know he's going to ice that because, if he doesn't, that's potentially a victory for the Miami Dolphins, being a field goal position that they'd have if we were to miss that.
People are really into the mental state of pro athletes and what they go through. And you look at Tyler Bass and missed an extra point, doinked an extra point off the upright that ended up going in. So not having the best of afternoons, but you as a former professional athlete, you want the chance to help win the game, whether it's you catching a ball in the end zone against the Carolina Panthers. I can't remember what year it was, but I think it was E.J. Manuel's rookie season, or Tyler Bass having competition brought in, has to re-win his job over, and the coach says, we have confidence in you, and he goes out there and delivers. Very emotional after the game as well.
Yeah, so I want to give this type of perspective for those listening and those watching. Put your mind into the mind of Tyler Bass or any field goal kicker. You are expected to be perfect. Now, a wide receiver, we get a passes thrown to us, and it might bobble, but then we catch it, and people are like, oh, hey, he still made the catch, and, we got the yards. His kicks that was doinked and still went in, hey, that's like a bobble and it's still going. Hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, he was 3 out of 3 with field goals, and he made the game winner. The extra point, of course, it was tough, but, hey, nobody's perfect, and people got to understand that, even for kickers. You think you only got one job, but that one job is so crucial, and you see what it did. It won an entire NFL game for us. We want to give credit to the Miami Dolphins kicker. He went 2 for 2. He was accredited for 9 points, and ultimately that was a big play. Special teams was the big play in this game. T. Bass was he added 10 points, which helped us, get to that 30 piece. So that was big for us. The kicking game was huge.
Kickers are people too, and teammates, and players. I like what Dawson Knox, the Bills tight end, had to say after the game. If this was a game where someone had a drop ball during the game but caught the game-winning pass, no one would remember that he dropped the ball earlier in the game. I think with kickers, it kind of sticks out a little more because you're so limited in what you can do as part of a game goes. But he's right. At the end of the day, you're as good as your last play. Tyler Bass, last play, technically a kickoff through the end zone, but got that 61-yard field goal.
Yeah, and again, we got to think earlier in the season there was a guy named Young Wei Lee. He kicked a 61, I believe it was something around a 61, 64. But that is huge, And then you got to think about what Young Wei Lee did. He did it inside of a dome.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Bass did it in Buffalo, where we know the wind can be vicious, especially going the way they did, opposed from the tunnel. So that's big props to him, and it should bring confidence to the Bills Mafia also to at least let the kid play out his season. Let it play out until he is gone. Let all the extra pressure and stuff, let him deal with that. As a player, we think about it all the time. The misses that we have, we probably think about the misses more than we do the makes. So he's putting himself through it, and he's showing that he's stepping and persevering through it all. So I like the resilience that he's showing.
Yeah, great to see there, and probably great for him moving forward into the next game as far as a confidence boost and whatnot. I think it was Sean McDermott made the point after the game, Stevie. I think a lot of us golfers out there can feel it. Sometimes golf swing, I've always compared it to what a place kicker does. My buddy in high school was the kicker. We golf all the time still, compares it to the same thing. But if your golf swing is off, you're going to be off for a little bit. When you start connecting properly, I think this goes a long way. You could see the relief in Bass that he was a major contributor to this win.
Yeah, and like you say with golf, it's about the fundamentals, right? I'm not a big golfer myself, but I'm around a lot of friends and guys in golf events, to hear them say enough that, it's just about being simple, keeping it simple, sticking to the fundamentals. And that's exactly what we heard from Tyler Bass when he was up at the podium. They was asking his process, and he said that's what he does over and over. Whatever his process was, from mental to the steps that he takes, he goes back over it over and over and over. And that's just what it's about, repetition and staying, confident in your process. And we're seeing that from Tyler throughout this season, throughout his obstacles.
Now, before this game, Stevie took to social media, said Ray Davis should have a big day here. Ultimately, 40 carries for 20 yards. However, Ray Davis, 2 receptions for 70 yards, Stevie, and that included a 63-yard touchdown at a crucial time during this game. So kudos to you, and really kudos to the rookie. You can only do what you can do when your number's called, and he did it.
That's facts, man. I wonder if they still got the most valuable player or the Vizio top value performer, because what Ray Davis is doing with his limited amount of touches, I mean, it's amazing. It should earn him a championship, the championship trophy for TVP. Like you said, 4 carries, 20 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. I just felt like every time he get the ball, it's going to be at least 3 to 4 yards. So it's only going to be more to come from Ray, and I saw it only because I felt like today was going to be one of those days that the Dolphins came to play, and they did. The offensive play calls was pretty perfect, in the sense of their running game was hidden. If their running game was hidden, I don't know if Tua might have been 11 for 13 at a point in the game, because he probably would have had to force things. But with that run game, we see how crucial and critical it is. And what we have as the Buffalo Bills team, we have a 3-headed monster. It's looking like Ty Johnson, James Cook, and Ray Davis is going to be elite guys. And if we can keep that throughout the season, that can be dangerous in the playoffs and going, hopefully, to the Super Bowl.
Stevie, one thing that we keep seeing pop its ugly head up every now and then are these slow starts, penalties, a big driver in this. Of course, Amari Cooper, with his injured wrists, not active for this game, might have had a trickle-down effect to the passing game, but still a little bit frustrating with some of the penalties on offense, the holding, the pre-snap stuff. But
what was up with the Amari thing? Like, I thought he practiced. We talked about that.
We did.
It must have got worse, huh?
he was out there, which is why I was wondering when we talked about it leading up to the game back last Wednesday on how it might affect a wide
Yeah,
receiver in dealing with a
yeah,
wrist injury, if you could do something else. But ultimately, I think, I don't know, would I be going too far in saying, the team looked at it and, it just wasn't worth it in a game against the Miami Dolphins? I get it. It's an Eastern team from the AFC East. You want to get to win. But is there a possibility that the Bills were like, we don't want this thing getting any worse? This is a game we might not need him for, and just made the decision during pregame warmups that ultimately it's better to sit him out in this one. But I think it did have a trickle down effect early, at least, in the Bills passing game.
yeah, and it definitely showed, and it kind of threw me for a loop also because when you come and do warm-ups, if you can catch, what I mean, you can catch or at least be used as a tool or just a distraction. So I thought at least he'd be able to do that on the field and everybody would still play their respective roles. But, things change, athletes adjust. I feel like, yeah, you're right. Maybe they decided this isn't a serious game for him to sacrifice him and for something worse to happen later on. So it's good that our guys persevered and got through that. Hopefully it's nothing super serious because, like I said, we was talking about on Wednesday. I mean, I've had broken fingers, I had wrist dislocations, and ligament tears, and still played. But they're playing for something bigger. We was just playing for those victories. They're actually playing for playoffs and further along. So who knows what that process was.
Got to give Mac Hollins a little love in this one as well. Coming up, clutch himself in this one. We go back to the game against the Houston Texans. I might have made a comment like, just stop throwing the ball towards Mac Hollins. You disagreed with me on that. Tried to explain what was going on, which I'll take a step back. And I think Mac Hollins, a huge reason why the Bills end up getting this W, not only the touchdown, but on that final drive to set up Tyler Bass, he came up big.
Yeah, yeah, and I felt that from him when we acquired him. He's been to multiple places, and what that come with experience. Knowing how to find yourself in an offense. So I really feel like he's doing the best that he can, and he's using that energy to do the best he can while playing out of position. Now, what I actually had Mac having way more yards than he had now going into week 9. But with him being out of position and him trying to, carry the load on certain things, it's kind of taking him out of what he would normally be comfortable in. And that's what we seen him doing, making those plays over the middle, finding holes, getting lost in the back and Josh finding them. Things like that is what he would excel at. But when you're being forced to play the number 2 or sometimes the number 1, you got a whole different set of situations that you're going to have to go through and figure out a ways to become valuable in the offense. So I'm kudos to him for doing what he's doing, adjusting. But once again, once Amari get back, Keon get to his spot, Khalil get to his spot, and we'll see Mac blow up even more later once everybody's healthy. So props to him for doing what he's doing.
Stevie, break this down for me. Keon Coleman, ball on a quick slant, goes through his hands, ends up being interception. Josh Allen's second of the season. We all know Keon Coleman has great hands. I don't think you need to revisit that.
Right.
But that situation that I think they said on TV, it looked like Josh checked out of a run into that. It was his option on what to do there. Ball comes up quick on that slant. But, I mean, overall, ball hit your hands. You should still catch it.
Right. Absolutely. Ball hit your hand. You should catch it. It's a catch that you catch all the time at practice. It's just one of those things where you're moving really fast and you're going at the ball. So that makes it even a little bit more harder, along with possibly having a DB on you because at practice, guys aren't being as physical. So you're not getting that contact. What I saw in that play, he was just moving too fast. One thing that can help him is hiding his split. His split was so close to where you got a quarterback with an arm like Josh Allen. Even when he throws it soft, it's still somewhat of a dart with you running inside trying to get away from somebody. So you know how that goes. It's hard to kind of hand-eye coordinate that. He'll make more than he'll miss. But if he hide his split as far as widen out just a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 steps, and then making the DB believe he's going to that fade. Because if you look back at that play, he's running at a pace where it's as if Josh is about to get sacked. But really, Josh isn't in no threat. So, take your time a little bit and really make that DB move so that you can come in with peace of mind to catch that dart. So it's just about being in that situation more, and hopefully the coaches can, dive into that and see what they can help him with.
And he shook it off. He ended up with the 2-point conversion to get the Bills back right offensively. Had another decent reception, and then Jordan Poyer helmet to helmet. Coleman has to leave the game, but that ultimately helps with the Tyler Bass field goal. Hopefully Coleman is okay. It looked like a rough shot to the head right there, but ultimately It looked like Coleman, they were able to move on from that, and Josh Allen didn't lose any faith in the rookie.
Yeah, and you love to see the resilience of a rookie, and that I feel like that's a testament to earlier in the season when he was having those slow days and seeing the confidence in the mafia, seeing the confidence in the media, and of course his quarterback, which matters the most. And now when you have plays like, hey, you missed that pass and then it got intercepted, you don't even think about it as much because your homies got your back and say, hey, look, next play we coming back out, and that's exactly what they did. He missed the bomb, but he put himself in a situation where Jordan Poyer made a play for us. Which, how about that? I guess he's still working for the mafia because without that play, I don't know if we get that field goal. So that was kudos to Jordan for making that play up for us.
Yeah, something to think about. Poyer helping the Bills win another game. We had a Matt Collins touchdown, a Ray Davis touchdown, a Quentin Morris touchdown, the tight end, which you kind of liked what we heard after the game, that he wasn't supposed to be out in a pass pattern. It was supposed to just be Dawson Knox, but the awareness of what's going on behind him, and then Josh finding him, such a bang play. But, guys all on the same page, used to working with each other. Amazing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably a credit to the coaching staff. In the locker room or in the film room, there's plays where it's designed to certain players, and some coaches would, hey, it's designed to let's say Kincaid. They only focus on Kincaid. They don't say the extra like, hey, you're not going to be open on this play, but I still want you to think about X, Y, and Z. You feel me? And I think that's what it is. I don't know if that was a conversation, but with a player to say that he's not even in that design play, but you're still active player, that's smart, and that's just going over the playbook. And I think that's a testament to the film study in the classroom from the coaches, getting those messages over to the players.
Again, great adjustment by the Bills offense, another slow start, but really turned it on, and they were clutch in the second half. Something else we've seen at times this year on the defensive side of the ball, Stevie, is a trouble handling the run. Again, we saw Mostert and Achane able to get through this Bills defense. They're only rushing 4 most of the time, but it just seemed like the battle of the line on both sides of the ball at times was dominated by the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, they executed very well. I was looking at those run plays, and those linemen was in the right spot. I feel like our outside edge was getting up the field, but up the middle, it seemed like they was a little bit stronger when it came to that part of competition. And maybe it's from, some injuries. Maybe it's from guys that haven't been in and done the intangibles a lot. But it's something that we definitely should look into, and hopefully they can get better coming next week with Jonathan Stewart running strong. That'll be another test for us to get stronger in that defensive line.
Yeah, and then you have Joe Flacco now in the mix there. So that's tough. That's what's next on the schedule. Christian Benford out for this one. Kaiir Elam finally gets a start this season. You were high that Kaiir might have put things together or got his act together and might end up having a big season. I know during the post game show we talked a little bit about, it was noticeable that he hasn't played much this year, and of course you're going up against Tyreek Hill. I think he was on Jalen Waddle most of the afternoon when I watched the game. Um, some good, some bad, but what will stick out is forced fumble and Kyer Elam there to jump on it, and that kind of jump started the whole second half for the Bills. And he almost had a strip of his own later on in the game, but unfortunately the knee was down already. But the effort was totally there, I think, with Kyer.
Absolutely. He played strong. He played stronger than a person would that has barely played, and you being a first round draft pick, you could come out and be playing lackadaisical or playing like, hey man, I should have had more or this and that. But he continues to come in like a pro and compete. Like you said, he got a play where who was it? Tyreek Hill got a play over him. Okay, tough. That was one big one. But like you said, he was guarding Waddle the whole game. And what was Waddle's stat? One catch, negative yards. He did get in the end zone at one time, but he got negative yards, so he was being shut down. I feel like what Kyer did was came in, he played his role. Big shot to Taryn for coming in and taking that shot on the broken arm that he has.
Mm-hmm.
What a baller! And then Kyer being there to pick up, being his first forced fumble recovery. So it was cool. It was good to see him get some positive plays and keep that confidence going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns that looked good early is getting to the quarterback. Again, it's Tua. I think he was able to escape a couple of times. Kind of hope to see a little bit more from that Bills pass rush. But again, if you're getting gutted in the ground game, that kind of keeps you from pinning your ears back and going after Tua, especially with how close the game was.
Right, and when you watch Tua, he's a good quarterback. Not saying nothing about him being a bad quarterback, but if you give him the ball to throw it 50 times, you know what's going to happen. It may be some type of interceptions or say it's not going to really work out when you're going against teams like the Buffalo Bills. But with Tua today, he was getting quick passes out, getting it to the running backs in the flats. So it's hard to get pressure on someone when you're getting the ball out quick. He probably had 3 or 4 times where he was able to sit back there and make a play, and he made one to number 9. And but that's as much as you need from Tua as a Dolphins reviewer. But as far as from Buffalo Bills perspective, he played a game where they protected him. They protected him. They did well at it. So it was, I can't say, we got to get better rush on him because they getting the ball out quick. If he was back there sitting around, I think we would have had more pressure on him. And then again, you got to take into account with Mostert having a monster game himself, which kind of kept the defense, kind of on their heels with that part.
I don't want to get too much into this, but before we go, you as a former player, I know general fans just watching are sick of some of the officiating you have around the NFL. You have Mostert put his head down and hit Taylor Rapp in the head. Rapp gets called for it. Keep in mind, Rapp had a concussion earlier this year and has one of those guardian shells on his helmet. It's absurd to think he would ever lead with his helmet in this case to get called the penalty. And then those ticky-tack holding penalties towards the end of the first half. One took away a Josh Allen touchdown run. I get to the fan at home watching how frustrating some of this stuff is when you see the replay and that the league just can't seem to get it right week after week with some of this officiating that's going on that's going to end up ruining someone's season at some point.
Yeah, and it just may happen to be us because that we was a product of that overtime game, with the Chiefs. So it's like hopefully they can evolve in, I don't know, with the challenges or, hey, I'll pick the flag up and the play continues on or something because it's just ridiculous because just like players make mistakes, refs make mistakes. And we don't want to, as fans, watch the game and be like, oh, this game was on you, ref. When you can easily, hey, let's look at it for review, pick up the flag, and, hey, previous play carries on. That's fair. That's fair. I think every team would like that, and they would respect that. So yeah, hopefully they don't affect any of the players in this rest of the season. But I mean, we know how it go. Anything can happen on any given Sunday.
Yeah, and every week I watch the game, and about a quarter of a way through, immediately I'm like, oh my God, here comes the flags again. But we'll move on from this, Stevie. I don't want to get hung up on this. It was a great performance by the Bills that ended up coming down to that 61-yard incredible field goal by Tyler Bass. 7-2 on the season. Bills are perfect, 4-0 at home. Tell me if you've heard this before. They're on the road next week. Seems like the Bills have been home, what, 2, 3
Yeah.
days? I got to look at the schedule, but it seems like every time they're home, they're on the road the next week at the Indianapolis Colts in a dome. So that's ideal conditions for Josh Allen and company. We'll see how that goes.
Ideal conditions, and it's time for them to make up for that Houston game inside the dome. It was great conditions. Maybe it was too common for them. So we want them to come out smoking, blazing, and destroy this Indianapolis Colts team and get back to the dominance.
Absolutely. Colts host the Bills. Another 1 o'clock kick coming up this coming Sunday. Stevie Johnson and Andy Young will be back with us for the post-game report. As always, everybody, thanks for joining us on the Buffalo End Zone Podcast.